Hey, what's going on, shrimp keepers? It is Saturday, which means it's Shrimp Saturday, and today I want to talk about orange-eyed blue tigers. And so a lot of times these guys get confused with royal blues and so on and so forth. So I kind of wanted to talk about them. I want to give you guys the basics to breeding them, what kind of parameters they need, all that good stuff. Things that I think are great for their tank, and I'll also talk about the grading and how that works, because a lot of times you see blonde ones out there, you see blue ones. There's so many different colors out there of them and so many different grades, so we kind of want to get into that. So that's what we're going to talk about, and I'm going to do another voiceover, so hopefully you guys like that. And just a lot of great things going on, some really cool news. Before we get into the Shrimp Saturday video, is I got these they're the blue bee, they're Caridina species, and we just got lucky and got them. And so I got 24 of them, so I'm really excited to get these guys breeding, and hopefully I don't kill them. So I'll be doing a video on that. I'm actually setting up a Shrimp King tank at my house, besides behind my desk. Well, behind where I sit, so if that makes sense. And I'm thinking of doing a live stream, setting up the video, and that's why I got the camera on the tripod. I was kind of testing it out. And so we're going to be using that for that video, and hopefully that goes really, really well. We also have Christine Ha, her video coming up. I need to get that out there. It's been a while. And so, a lot of good stuff. But today we're going to get into orange-eyed blue tigers and really get into this tiger species. Super excited about it. So you guys stay tuned and enjoy the video.
Hey shrimp keepers, so today I definitely want to talk to you guys about breeding orange-eyed blue tigers. First of all, just some of the things that I want to cover. Like always, I want to cover just the origins of the orange-eyed blue tiger, their genus that somebody corrected me on last week. I'm glad they corrected me. Just the grading, their colorations and grading, feeding them, their tank parameters, the tank setup, the things that I suggest should go in all shrimp tanks. Their sexing, how to tell, whether it's a male or female. And I get a lot of questions on what is berried and what is saddled, so we'll definitely cover that today. And then also I want to touch on snails in a shrimp tank, and the benefits of having snails, and why I use them in all of my shrimp tanks. So let's first start off with just talking about the origin of the orange-eyed blue tiger. And to be honest, I really don't know. I did some research on it, and I really couldn't find any good places spelling out where the orange-eyed blue tiger came from, or how it was originated, whether it's wild caught or so on and so forth. One thing to know for sure is it does come from China. I'm pretty sure that all tiger shrimp do originate from China, and so that's one thing to know. So they do most likely come from slow-moving streams. One theory is this: it's known that the orange eyes on any shrimp mean that the shrimp is nearly blind. And so it could be that these shrimp originated from, maybe a really dark region in China, or maybe the river that they came from was really a dark place, and so they developed this orange eye because they really didn't need their vision for anything, because their number one sense is, feel. And that's why they have all the antennas and stuff like that. So that's a pretty interesting fact. I learned that from Chris Lucup, and I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so a lot of tigers out there actually do have blue tints, so it's easy to say that they could have just been line bred over time, and maybe the blindness, the orange eyes just came from many generations of interbreeding, and they just developed this blindness which caused the orange eyes. You never know, and it's just all speculation. But one thing I do want to point out, they do come from the Caridina genus. Sorry about that. And so they will interbreed with crystals, your crystal reds, crystal blacks. They will interbreed with Taiwan bees and other tigers. And so it's not good to mix them with that. They will not interbreed with Neocaridina genus. So you can mix them with cherry shrimp. You can put them in with orange sakuras, anything like that. You can put them in there, and you shouldn't have any issues. The only thing is tiger shrimp in general are pretty aggressive eaters, and I share this all the time. So they will dominate the food bowl for sure. So you have to know that going into it, and yeah, so they are piggies. But yeah, so that's basically just the origin. I'm sorry that I couldn't find out more information, but the next thing is grading. Right now you're looking at a blonde tiger, which doesn't have very much blue in it. And so these guys, like I said, do not breed true. Here's a really nice blue one, in my opinion. All shrimp show up different in pictures. All shrimp show up different in lighting. Depending on what substrate you're using, they're all going to show up differently. And so I always use pool filtered sand, and I'll get to that when we talk about the tank setup. But the white sand really helps you grade these shrimp. So you have to know that these do not breed true, in the sense that some will be blonde and have no color whatsoever, and those are just orange-eyed tigers, and some will get a blue tint to them. Some blue better than others, and so on and so forth. So just know that going into it. Know that they're not all going to be blue. So most of them will, and if you breed blue to blue, most likely you'll have a good ratio of blue shrimp. And so in the video that you're watching right now, I haven't fed them yet. So all the video that we just watched, that was just the tank prior to feeding. Now, I did say these guys were aggressive eaters, and I truly meant it. So you can just watch this video. These shrimp are going to come out of nowhere and really start decimating this food. And so again, that's why I recommend not keeping them with cherry shrimp or other colonies of Caridina genus. And it is because they will always win out on food, and eventually they will outcompete the other colony that you're trying to keep with them. But if you're limited on space and you're just a hobbyist and not really worried about one population outcompeting the other, then by all means definitely do it, and just see how it goes. So again, going back to grading, you can see there's some shrimp in here that don't have as much color as the others, and some have some really nice color, and it all just works out. But as far as feeding, let me just touch on that, since that's what we're watching. Is I feed all the shrimp MK breed foods. I don't sell them currently, but I definitely am working on it for the future. Probably in the next week or two I'll have it available. But this is a food that I have been feeding for quite some time now. I would say probably 4 months, and I really do like the results that I've been having with MK breed foods, and I feed their blue, their red, their white, their black, and their cheeseburger. I know cheeseburger, the shrimp love it too. And yeah, so anyway, I just fed these shrimp, so they're kind of getting a little crazy. You can see them starting to swim around, and really this is minutes after entering the food into the tank. The other thing I want to point out is you can see right here on the left hand side there's tons of I believe these are the yellow rabbit snails in this tank. It might be the orange ones. I'm colorblind, if you guys didn't know that. I can't see shade, so I have it written down on the tank. I don't know offhand, but I do keep snails in all of my shrimp tanks, and look at them all swimming around. I mean, it's crazy, but it's good. They're in a frenzy over the food. They're maniacs. But I keep snails in all the tanks for a multitude of reasons. One is they can really break down the food for the shrimp, and I believe that the poop of snails is extremely beneficial to their survival. There's some organisms and bacteria that are in the poop that the shrimp will eat, because shrimp are scavengers, and so snails benefit shrimp in that way. Also, with beginner colonies, snails, you can add them into the tank to really keep the cycle going in the tank, and really keep the tank from uncycling and going through the cycle process again, because snails are, they produce a lot of waste, and in that sense they will definitely keep the bioload alive, because they're going to produce enough waste, and they're going to clean up your food. They're going to stir your substrate so you don't get pockets of gas building up. And so shrimp definitely have a huge benefit in a lot of different ways, in my opinion. But anyway, right now we did switch tanks. This is another 20 gallon. The first tank was a 40 gallon breeder that I was using. This is a 20 gallon long. They're both set up the exact same way. This you can actually see has some babies in it, whereas the other one was mainly adults, juveniles. They're just getting ready to start producing again. And so this tank is a different strain. I got this from a different breeder, and this one has been doing well. It's probably 8 months old. But we'll see a couple clips on this tank, and I'm really satisfied with the quality of these shrimp. And so as you guys watch this, I'll just talk a little bit about how I set up their tanks. One thing you have to know is most Caridina genus, they require a buffered substrate, and what I mean by buffered substrate is a substrate that alters the pH of the water. And so buffering the substrate or buffering the water means that you want a pH of less than 7. Tiger species in general, most of the tiger species do not like a pH of less than 7, besides the tangerine tigers, which we talked about last week. And so these guys prefer a pH above 7. And so I'm just watching this video and they're cracking me up. But these guys I keep with pool filtered sand. Again, I'm going to have this pool filtered sand available on the website because I always recommend it and people don't know always where to get it. And so eventually I'll put this up on the website again, probably in the next week or two. But pool filtered sand, it's fairly inexpensive. You can get it from any pool or spa dealer. Any place that sells hot tubs or pools normally sells pool filtered sand, and there's a lot of different brands out there. So as long as it's pool filtered sand, you're going to be good to go. So that's what I recommend for the substrate. The other thing would be filters. I always recommend sponge filters. The two tanks that you guys are going to be looking at today are tanks that have sponge filters. You can see one in this picture right now, this video. And so sponge filters are really great option. I'm upgrading all the tanks to a Madden filter, which you could look at that Madden filter in the last video, which is how to breed shrimp. I'll put that down in the description. Or not, I'll put it down in the description. It's how to breed tangerine tigers. And anyway, so Madden filters are my new favorite filter just because of the surface area they have, and it it makes a huge surface area for the shrimp to graze on, and really helps the baby shrimp survival rate. So Madden filters are where I'm going. Any power filter will work. Just make sure you cover the inlet tube. You don't want shrimp getting sucked up in there. So definitely keep that in mind as you buy power filters. But again, sponge filters, Madden filters are my favorite. The next thing is the water parameters. I use RO water on these guys. I remineralize it with salty shrimp, GH, and KH+. The KH is in there to help stabilize the pH and help you achieve a pH of higher than 7 or at 7. And so salty shrimp, GH, and KH+, you can get it on my website, you can get it on Amazon, you can get it on eBay, wherever you can get it. And so that's my recommendation for that. What I do is I add the salty shrimp GH and KH plus to RO water to achieve a TDS of 180 to 220. Anywhere in that range is very good for these shrimp, and that'll usually give you a GH of 6 to 8 and a KH of 2 to 4, which I found is very good for breeding orange-eyed blue tigers. So that's what I would recommend as far as tank parameters, tank setup. The other thing is I always add 3 things to every tank, and I'm sure you've seen them throughout this video so far. It's driftwood, it's moss, and it's leaves. So those are the 3 things that I think every shrimp tank should have if you really want to have success. Driftwood, I do have a video about this, and I'll link it in the description because I don't want to be too repetitive in all these videos. But the driftwood I recommend, you're looking at manzanita wood right now. Actually that's Mapani, and then the other one is Malaysian on the right hand side that we're getting ready to look at. Leaves, I always use Indian elm leaves, although there are a ton of options out there. You can really use whatever you think is best, but Indian elm leaves work really well for me. And as far as moss, my favorite right now is Sabwatsertang, which is actually a freshwater seaweed. But it's a very pretty plant, and the way it grows is awesome. It creates so many crevices for the shrimp to hide. But other than that, mosses, any of them will work. I use a lot of Anubiases in my tanks, just because they're hardy, they're easy. Some people say that you cut them and they leach stuff into the aquarium and it kills all your shrimp. That's definitely not true. I've never had that issue. And so the other thing I want to touch on that I kind of missed on was the snails. Rabbit snails, if you're going to keep rabbit snails in your tank, they really don't repopulate very quickly, so you don't have to worry about them taking over. And snails are also really great for telling you if you feed too much or not. And so if your snail population is growing and getting too big, that probably means you're feeding way too much. And if you get to a point where the snails are taking over the food and no shrimp can eat, then you probably have too many. But usually it will never happen. If you're feeding the appropriate amount, your snails will never take over. So just something to keep in mind. But the one thing I didn't touch on is what a berried shrimp and a saddle shrimp are. So real quickly, a female shrimp is one that has a rounded belly, and a male shrimp has a straight belly. So if you look at her back tail, a female will have a nice rounded bottom on it, and they use that to guard their eggs. Whereas males will not have a rounded tail. It would just be a flat bottom because they don't have to guard any eggs. And so that's just a really easy way to tell. Females are usually much more colorful. So in this case, they would be a lot more blue than blonde, but that's not always true. What a saddled shrimp is when they have what looks like a horse saddle on their back. It's actually the eggs moving down to their tail, and then later they'll move them to their fanlets. I don't remember what the scientific name is, so don't judge me. But they'll move them down to their fanlets, and they'll fan them for about a month, 30 days, say. And that's that time period of 30 days where they're carrying the eggs. That is when they are considered a berried shrimp. And it almost looks like they have little berries on their shrimp, so I believe that's where that came from. But anyway, that's all I have. I'm actually going to close it out in front of you guys, so I'll turn the camera around and talk to you guys real quick. But thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you learned something.
Well, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something. As always, I'm sure there's something that I forgot out. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. I'll do my best to respond to you. Things are kind of crazy right now, but I will do my best. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. I wouldn't be here without your guys' support, so that's awesome. And thank you guys so much for all that you're doing. Much love from this side of the camera. Hopefully much love from that side of the camera. And for the record, a lot of people have been asking me, I did not paint this fingernail. That is from hitting it with a hammer. Yeah. So, just for the record, I do not paint my fingernails. If you do paint your fingernails, no offense, no offense. I just wanted to make that clear. But much love. You guys have an awesome week, and I will talk to you guys later.